What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble, and welcome to the second of my pair of new but different shmups that are out right now. Yeah, this may not look like a new game, but it absolutely is. And funny enough, much like the last game, this is one that I ended up getting into a public beta test for. So I did play this game prior to release, but not in any kind of compensatory way. And this is very different than the last game, but I've been quite enjoying it as well because it's styled like an older 16-bit shmup, but very much brings its own ideas as well. So this is Heli-Cats, as you can see, and well, this has been out for a little bit now and seems to be getting no love whatsoever, which I think is a dang shame. I think shmup people and score attack people should very much check this out. So what does this do differently? Well, I'm going to show you here. It is a very simple campaign. There's a tiny little story, invasion, stop the bad guys, etc., you know, that kind of thing, right? And there is a training mode in here that you can try out to get good at the mechanics, which you're going to need. It's definitely a little bit challenging. There are achievements in this. Pretty much all but one of them are really tough. It's a game that demands some stuff of you. And there are online leaderboards, a little bit limited in the sense that it only shows basically the top 5, which is kind of strange to me. It would be better to me if it showed a lot more than that, but you know, it does have them, which is kind of cool. No replays though, but you know, if it's only going to show the top 5, I think they need to do more than that first. So kind of like an old Neo Geo game. When you fire this up, it gives you this little tutorial kind of thing, which is neat. As you can see, there's 3 buttons in here, and I'll just explain this to you. You can play this in co-op if you want, local only, but it would work fine over Steam Remote Play, I imagine. Right now, I have 2 different pilots available, basically with 2 different types of chopper configuration here. And you have what's called Auto Bomb, which will use that if you get yourself in a pickle. I've never been using it myself. So this very much has arcade vibes to it, and that, like I said, it has a story, but it's very, very limited. It's got these little cutscenes. It's got this kind of cool, almost sounds like a Sega CD or TurboGrafx CD style musical score. I like it. It's got a good vibe to it and some interesting instrumentation. So on the surface, this may look like a fairly standard run-of-the-mill shmup. You know, you got your unit, you got air units, you got ground units, and you're trying to shoot them. But the keen-eyed of you may have noticed something here right off the bat, which is that you can do this. Yeah. So what you have to do in this is there's actually 2 different layers. So there's the idea of having different ways you have to attack air and ground units in shmups is nothing new. That's been done before, usually with a lock-on mechanic or something. But what this one does differently is that you actually can change your elevation. And not only can you only attack units on the same elevation as you can only get hit by enemies on the same elevation as you. So yellow bullets like that are on the aerial plane, and red bullets are more on the ground plane. And what you have to do in order to get the most kills and the most score is you have to be quick, and you'll have to do this much more quickly later on. You have to switch back and forth between the 2 different planes to try to get all of the different enemies. And some of the bosses will fire both bullet types at once, and you've got to learn how, almost like a lighter version of Ikaruga's black and white mechanic, you've got to learn to shift perspectives up and down in order to avoid the type of bullet that's coming at you. And you've got to be really good with pattern recognition in order to see what's coming at you. And it actually gets very challenging very quickly. I haven't beat the 3rd level in this yet, and it took me a while just to get to the 2nd one to give you a rough idea here. So here we go. The levels are not super long, as you can see, but we've got a different boss. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I have gotten to the 4th level in this. There's 8 levels in total, and the objectives do vary some. The 3rd level actually plays quite a bit differently. You don't have a boss in that, but you have objectives to complete. And you have to try to complete those objectives while also trying to take out as many enemies and survive as long as you can. So you see, you can go back and forth here. You've got bombs. You start, and you can pick up additional ones sometimes in the different levels. You also don't die in one hit in this. You have hit points, as you can see up there, but you also only get 1 life. So you take 3 hits and that's it. You're donezo. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And the game only hands out credits to you. You will earn more credits the more levels you've completed, and you can earn additional credits by doing a training run. So you can't just credit feed your way through this, which is why I actually haven't gotten that far in it. Well, that's hilarious. I took him out and then I died right away. Now there's an additional mechanic as well that I haven't explained yet. So you see there in the well, now it's fading out, but in the bottom left, there's a power meter there. So this is cool as well. I've never seen a game that's done this before either. So you see there's a flashing number there beside the meter. Well, that number you will see starts to go up as you take out standard fare enemies, and you'll sometimes get these little drones that will come at you to make that easy. These don't actually shoot at you. And by doing that, you can hold the fire button down and shoot a charge shot that obviously does more damage, but you'll see it starts to tick that down very quick. And by killing enemies with the charge shot, and only the charge shot, they drop these little orbs. And by picking up those orbs, you increase your gun level up to a maximum of 3. And this will slowly tick down over time. So you have to try to get enemies with the higher end weapon periodically if you can, in order to keep that charged up. That I thought was a very interesting way to do power-ups, because virtually every shmup ever made has, if you do get power-ups in it, they're dropped from certain enemies and you have to pick them up, and those can change your weapon, those can change your power level, those can do any number of different things. Well, in this, you only have the main weapon, but you level it up, and you do it actually through combat itself, not by taking out certain enemies and waiting for certain types of power-ups to drop, but by actually playing smartly and utilizing the more limited set of tools that the game gives you in order to maximize your power and by extension your score. It's a really clever way. You know, I always hate that expression, less is more, because I'm like, no, objectively less is less. But what I like to say is that you can, I think the better way to phrase it is that you can do more with less. And that's what this does. They didn't focus on making a huge number of power-ups or different types of guns that you have to juggle between, or a traditional power-up system that you have to pursue. You have one weapon, and your main objective with it is just to get as good with that one weapon as possible. You know, do one thing and do it really, really well. And by doing that, you maximize that weapon power, and thus that's how you make things easier for yourself, is by getting a lot of kills in a strategic manner and utilizing your power shots as best you can in order to make your overall power that much stronger. Really, really clever, I thought. And that's what appealed to me a lot when I got into the beta for this. Like when I saw that there was a beta invitations open for this game, I was just kind of like, okay, this looks good. It looks like another neat 16-bit era arcade shmup, but what's it doing differently? Then I started to play it and I went, oh, okay, I get it now. And I like plenty of traditional shmups, but I like shmups that try something different. That's what I liked about Valfaris Mechatherion, the last game that we covered here, and that's what I like about this one as well. It's familiar, absolutely, but it brings its own ideas to the table and isn't just, you know, they could have just made another sort of Raiden-like shmup and probably did fine with it. But this one, but they decided to do something different that feels very familiar for fans of those types of games, but it's not like that. And it's something new that you have to learn, but it's not, you're not learning to walk again with this. You're just learning to walk differently, if that makes any sense. And I really like it for that. It's quite challenging, but it's also one of those ones where you don't necessarily feel like you have to memorize everything. Like the level progression is the same, so learning to memorize a little bit certainly will help. But I feel that this is one of those games where I'm just getting a little bit better at it every time. For a lot of the time during the beta, I had a hard time getting through the first level on 1 credit. And then I had a really hard time getting through the second level. Now, haven't been doing it here because I've been playing while talking over it. But I've gotten to, now I can get through the first 2 levels usually on 1 credit. And as you can see here, I'm just going to stop there for a second. This is one of the different levels that I told you about, right? So in this level, what you have to do is those canisters where it says scan, you have to hover over them, and you can't finish the level until you get a minimum of 60 scans by the time you get to the end of the train. And you can destroy the stuff that's not marked to scan. You can destroy the stuff that it's telling you to scan too, but if you do that, you're kind of hamstringing yourself. Again, cool idea. There's no boss fight in this level. The boss is the level, basically. You have to try to juggle all these all this combat stuff going on while also trying to hover over these train cars long enough to hit your 60 scan points. Never seen a game do this before, and I think this is a very interesting, different kind of mechanic. You know, traditional shmup players may think, I don't really like this, but I really like what this is trying to do differently. And they knew how to implement this while still keeping things challenging, even though they feel quite fresh. You know, the only real complaint I would have about this is I like that it has online leaderboards. I think they're kind of, I think if you're going to put the effort into making online leaderboards, that just making it show only the top 5 seems a little strange. It seems like you put in a lot of work for not a lot of reward out of it, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So it would be nice if that was made a little bit more robust and a little bit more deep. And I mean, you know, again, I am always going to harp on it. Replays would be nice. I've seen small games do replays. It can be done. I know it's work, but you should make your leaderboards bigger first, I think, before you go about trying to put in replays. But that's my only real gripe. Other than that, I really like the way this plays. It's responsive. I think it has a nice 16-bit era look to it. I really love the different ideas they've taken to weapons and weapon progression. You know, they put just enough of a story in it to make it feel like an arcade game. It doesn't need one. But it's neat that it's there. This feels like something where you could see this going in one of those sort of modern arcade cabinets, you know, where like there's a version of this where you can actually where you could actually enable the ability to credit in and stuff, where someone could put this on an actual like arcade machine if they wanted, and it would feel right at home, I think, which is cool. Honestly, I think that's a great compliment to say that, like, yeah, I feel like I could actually see myself playing this on a real arcade machine. You know, and yeah, made by, I think, largely a single dev. So that's always impressive to me. Any game that can be made by a single person, I always find pretty incredible. So, but I've been having good fun with this. I do want to finish it. Gonna take some practice. I'm gonna have to get good, but I would like to finish this and see it through to the end and see how the levels evolve. And I'm already out there because I ran out my credits. Oh well, you know, that's how things go. But this has been a lot of fun, and it is something I recommend. At time of recording, I don't even know if this game has a single Steam review. That's friggin' criminal, man. This should be doing better. If you're watching this and you're a shmup fan, go grab this. I don't think it's very expensive, and it is a good amount of fun. I could see this being really cool in co-op as well. I'd love to have an opportunity to try that out with somebody at some point. And it's just well crafted by someone who wanted to do something different, but clearly understood what made a good entry in the genre they were making. So yeah, that's Heli-Cats. It's out now. Go give it a look. Shmup fans should not pass this over. Absolutely. You should give it a shot because it is a ton of fun, and I always like to see indie shmups get support, especially indie shmups that are trying something different. So thank you much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you liked what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things and leave a comment down below. Tell me, what do you think about this? What are other cool, there's so many cool indie shmups coming out these days, and I love to see it. Tell me what some of your other favorites are. What do you think about this different weapon system in here? Is it something that interests you as much as it did me? I'm curious about that. You can also follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. I'm focusing more on retro stuff over there for a while, tackling what I call the deep backlog, but I do indies there too in a different format, and we have a great community there, and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Folks, have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.